In the closing days of 2024, China did something it almost never does. It let the world watch. Over major cities in full daylight, advanced military platforms appeared. Platforms that normally remain hidden for years, sometimes decades. No dramatic announcements, no victory speeches, just visibility. And that choice matters more than the machines themselves. Because secrecy is not just about protection, it's about timing. For most of its modern history, China followed a deliberate strategy: reveal as late as possible and only when absolutely necessary. This applied to missiles, aircraft, satellites, and doctrine. That pattern just broke. And when a great power breaks its own rules, it's usually because the strategic environment has shifted underneath it. The question isn't whether China is showing strength. The question is why China now believes showing is safer than hiding. To understand this, we need to step away from individual weapons and look at the system they come from. Because China isn't signaling dominance, it's signaling endurance. So let's start with the platforms themselves. Within a short window, multiple stealth designs were observed, distinct shapes, distinct roles, and one aircraft long discussed but rarely acknowledged. This wasn't a test campaign in isolation, it was a pattern. At the same time, autonomous systems once framed as experimental, drones, robotic ground units, AI-assisted logistics, are quietly transitioning into regular military use. Not unveiled at arms expos, not framed as futuristic concepts, but treated as normal equipment. That normalization is the key. When a military stops presenting new technology as next generation, it's saying something subtle. This is already baseline, and baseline capabilities change planning calculations. But here's the part that's often misunderstood. China's recent visibility is not about convincing the public. It's not even about intimidating rivals directly. It's about altering cost equations. Modern military competition isn't decided by who has the most advanced single system. It's decided by who can afford to build, maintain, replace, and upgrade systems faster than the other side can respond. And this is where China's strategy becomes clearer. China's industrial system is not optimized for prestige weapons. It's optimized for scale. Factories that produce civilian drones can be repurposed. Supply chains that support robotics and electric vehicles can feed military logistics. Materials science developed for infrastructure quietly improves airframes and sensors. This means the marginal cost of adding military capability is lower. Not zero, but lower. And that matters because the United States and its allies face a different problem: replacement. Many Western systems are extraordinary, but expensive to maintain, slow to reproduce, and dependent on stretched industrial bases. When one side builds at scale and the other builds at precision, conflict doesn't need to happen for imbalance to grow. Time does the work. This is why China's signaling focuses less on battlefield dominance and more on presence. Stealth aircraft appearing in daylight, robotic systems used openly, missile tests conducted with advance notice. These aren't threats, they're reminders. Reminders that China wants competitors to factor in longevity, not just capability. Because here's the uncomfortable truth of modern power. Deterrence is no longer about fear of destruction alone. It's about fear of exhaustion. And exhaustion comes from cost asymmetry. If one side can field acceptable systems at a fraction of the price and replace losses faster, the strategic pressure shifts even without war. This also explains why China increasingly treats civilian and military innovation as a single ecosystem. A robot dog used in logistics today becomes a reconnaissance asset tomorrow. A delivery drone becomes a battlefield sensor. A navigation satellite reduces dependence on foreign systems. None of this is dramatic in isolation. Together, it's structural. Now zoom out further. China is approaching several symbolic milestones, historical anniversaries that reinforce narratives of recovery, resilience, and transformation. But symbolism isn't the real objective. The real objective is psychological positioning. By openly displaying capability while emphasizing restraint, China aims to project an image of inevitability rather than aggression. Not "we are coming for you," but "we will still be here when you are tired." This is a very different message from Cold War brinkmanship. It doesn't demand escalation. It doesn't require immediate response. But it forces planners to confront uncomfortable timelines. Because while China continues to modernize, its rivals must spend enormous resources maintaining aging systems, modernizing infrastructure, and, keeping legacy platforms operational. Maintenance is invisible, replacement is expensive, and industrial decline compounds silently. This doesn't mean China is invulnerable. Far from it. Operational experience matters. Training matters. Coordination under real stress matters. A force can look formidable and still struggle under fire. China knows this. Which is precisely why its current strategy emphasizes deterrence over confrontation, visibility over surprise, pressure over provocation. The goal is not to start a war. The goal is to make war irrational, to make the price so asymmetrical that conflict becomes strategically absurd, even if politically tempting. And this is where, honestly, many analysts make a mistake. They look for a single game-changing weapon, but there isn't one. The real shift is quieter. It's the transition from secrecy to confidence, from demonstration to normalization, from catching up to forcing others to keep up. China isn't asking whether it can win a war tomorrow. It's asking whether anyone else can afford a prolonged competition over decades. That's a different question. And it has no easy answers. Because the future of power may not belong to the side with the most advanced machine, but to the side that can keep building when everyone else starts cutting back. That's why what happened in late 2024 matters. Not because of what flew overhead, but because of what it revealed about how China now sees time itself. And in geopolitics, time is the most decisive weapon of all.